Maybe also you can do a disclaimer of my name, huh?
Welcome to Leg State Media, everybody. My name is Abraham Medin-Majak. I'm one of the hosts today. Welcome those of you in Facebook, Clubhouse, and YouTube. Please start sharing this show and also pin people in. This is the breaking news. So we just come in. It's a breaking news regarding about what's going on in Malakal, in IDP camp. So we get the breaking news in that there is violence going on in the camp in Malakal. We bring in Edmund Yakani to give us an update about what's going on. Edmund, welcome to Leg State Media again. Thank you for coming in. Let us go in and Edmund, can you tell us what's going on in Malakal?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, my brothers in Lex Media. After a long time, we have been a bit of a holiday and back to join you. But of course, with sad news that I wish we could have joined you with the good news, not a news that we have lost lives of our own brothers and sisters in Malakal from the two ethnic community of Shuluk and Nuer. Of course, is something very sad. It's something that we don't wish to talk more about it, but it's an incident that's happened. And of course, our aim is now to share facts about the incident, but at the same time to offer solution that we don't see further escalation of violence of what we have seen today morning. And it's a really disturbing situation. It's a sad situation. It's a situation that we say condolence to the family and the loved ones of those who we have lost, but we say also those who have lost, let rest their souls in internal peace. But it's something that we don't wish to see it happening again, because Malakal is becoming really a center of communal violence that is deadly, and specifically within the town, either within Malakal town or the POC, and today is a POC. So it's something sad, but of course, we need to appeal to our communities who are in Malakal IDPs camp or the POC to use a non-violent approach in resolving disputes or any misunderstanding among them. Yes, we're human beings. Whenever we come more than one person, we may have misunderstanding, but violence is not the option for resolving our crisis. So, yeah, I think we can continue the talk show and we can share a lot of information, and also we can hear from the audience who are listening to this particular show. But after a long time, thank you very much to host me today.
Thank you, Edmund, for coming in again, and we in our. It's my pleasure to host you again today. So, what is going on? What happened? What is the root cause of why these two community are fighting each other, what the root cause of it. So, and what is the function of the United Nations? So, what are the UN doing in the camp to stop the violence, and also the local community, local government? What are they doing there in camp?
Thank you very much. This incident started with an act of a killing of one particular person on Wednesday from one of the communities. And of course, this comes after there's a continuous tension among the two communities. It's not for the first time. There's a continuous tension between the two ethnic group of Nuer and Shuluk in Malakal POC. And this tension has been brewing and growing, and there's no attention towards that. So it's sort of like a revenge to an incident which happened on Wednesday where one of the person starved to death. So there was a revenge to that particular incident. But one thing that I'd like to bring to the attention of your audience is the context of the camp in relation to the presence of UN peacekeeping mission. If you remember, less than a year or 2 years ago, there was a transformation of the camps that the IDPs are living across the country under UN. In the beginning, they're called protection of civilians sites under UN, which is named as a POCs, or protection of civilian centers. So they're called POCs. And I remember before the current SRG, the previous SRG have worked hard to transform them and hand them over to the control of the government. And that's why at that particular moment, the name POC under the UNIMIS mandate is no longer applicable. But of course, they're close to UN premises. What does it mean? It means UN have reduced their presence in providing direct protection inside the camp, but they have mandate of patrolling around the camp as a sign of assuring protection of civilians. So UN is not so much in control of the camp previous compared to the previous years from 2013 until 2020 or 2019, where UN is really directly managing and they're really acting there with their various institutions like UN police and UN military are active. So after the handover from the season of the SRG David, when he handed over to the government and is translated to a camps, which the name POC is not applied. But of course, up to now, we still call it POC because it's a famous name associated with the establishment of the camp since the breakout of 2013 crisis. So it means UN is not fully in charge of protecting the civilians. Only what UN do is that they offer a patrol around the camp in a time interval. They can go with one car, maybe containing 6 soldiers. They can park to a location. They can stay for about like an hour. They can move to another location. After a distance of an hour, again, another patrol after 2 hours. So they're not in charge in providing direct response, protection response in terms of people in uniform to principle of protection of civilians. So that's one of the contexts that happened. And because of that, there's a breakdown of bit of absence of rule of law if you compare to the time of UNIMIS. Though the time when still the POCs are under UNIMIS, or the camps when it's called POC under UNIMIS, there's still there are pockets of violence or revenge attacks in the camps. But now, because UN is not fully engaged in the camps, so this word POC is not applicable. It's actually supposed to be called IDP camp because it's been handed over to the government. The government has to provide protection. But also, as you know, you are aware of the context how these camps were established. These camps were established where we have a violence, and some of those violence in 2013 until 2016, it have taken ethnic context. So even the going of the government to provide a direct protection of civilians or instill or impose or foster rule of law in those camps were completely down because there's a huge mistrust between those who are in the camp versus the role of the government in providing. And some who feel a bit like they want to come out, some of them are walk out of the camp and they are in the residential area, whether being in Juba, being in Bor, being in Melekal, or being in Bentiu. That's what has happened. But still some remain in the camps because they don't believe that they're going to gain protection if they leave those camps. So that's the context of the camp which has happened. So the incident is a revenge attack incident. Now, any incident that happened violently in these camps, being it Melekal, being it Bor, being it Bentiu, being it Juba, because of the context of the hangover of 2013 crisis, people still look at themselves from an ethnic line. Either if the same ethnic group, people tend to analyze issues from a subsection of that ethnic, which we call as a clan. You can hear one clan versus another clan of the same ethnic group. This incident happened, being it in Juba, being it in Bor, being it in Malakal, or being it in Bentiu. So in Malakal, it becomes sensitive because, as you know, the issue of ownership of Malakal or issues of identity classes over Malakal, who are the actual owners. So there's a continuous tension over that. But in the POC, it's simple a revenge attacks. And of course, you know, one of the things that is really challenging us sometimes, even if a small incident happens, there are spoilers behind these incidents. Whenever incident happens, some spoilers come in and they start politicizing that incident. And that incident become a heavy incident. Like as I told you, it is an incident of a revenge attack. After on Wednesday, one particular person was killed and a revenge was carried out on Thursday morning. It became a large scale because it was politicized. Some political elites intervened and started politicizing and started communicating it. Some traditional chiefs took side and some youth leaders have taken side and has become bigger. And the worst complex side of it is that it happened immediately after the meeting of the president with Johnson Olony. So bit of some people start bringing it also in a very bad political interpretation. But the incident is deadly. It's an incident that we can describe it as human rights were being committed. There's huge violations happening in the camp. So I'd like to say that is the context that we're in now. What is going on now in terms of the situation? The situation is calm around the late afternoon hours or the early evening. There's a bit of calm. The authorities in Malakal, the state government and other authorities have imposed a night curfew. As we speak now, Malakal is undergoing a night curfew that starts from 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. So that curfew is imposed already in Malakal town, so people are not moving, which is like a deterrent for fostering conflict prevention. But of course, the capacity of the state to be full-time in the camp and providing protection of civilians or fostering rule of law is completely very low. And the question of mistrust and a deep deficit in trust and confidence between the citizens who are in the POC versus the government at the Malakal level is still another factor that does not ease the role of the state to play in providing protection for civilians. And remember, this time, as I explained from the context in the beginning, is that UN have withdrawn from having a direct provision of protection to the IDPs. Only what they do is that they do the patrolling because it's within their mandate to provide protection of civilians, but they have reduced the modality of how they provide the protection. Previously, they provided protection by having direct presence and imposing rule of law. But now they have withdrawn. They're only providing what they call sort of like an early warning system where they patrol around the camp, but they don't have a direct management of rule of law in the camp compared to the time when there are POCs under the UN. So for me, that's the context we're in. The sad news, and which sometimes I'm a bit worried, is that some of us will start politicizing this, and it may take a big, large political scale on an ethnic line, which none of us like to see that. None of us like to impress that. None of us want to support that. We strongly condemn people who want to politicize any tension, but also to the population in the POC, because culture of violence is becoming so sharp and a dominant instrument of resolving misunderstanding in the camps. So because of the previous experience 2013, and remember, since 2013 until now, it's a quite long period of time, and people are living in a culture of violence. And some generations are addicted now or exposed so much to a culture of resolving things in a violent manner. So my message to the people in the camp is that how much they have disagreements, they should use non-violent approach. Violence never gain and violence have no benefit to anyone. But at least if they can use dialogue to sort out their disputes, because even a criminal act, it may end up becoming a communal violence issue, or a criminal act may trigger a communal violence. And right now, what happened in Malakal is actually a criminal act, but it has triggered an ethnic confrontation between two ethnic groups. And that's a bit disturbing, and that's a sad news. And that's something that we don't want to encourage, we don't want to condone, but something that we strongly condemn it, and we urge our communities, use dialogue to resolve your differences. How deep your differences are, violence cannot help you, and violence can't help any either of the conflicting parties in Malakal IDPs camp.
Oh, okay, thank you so much, Edmund Yakani. I have a question here. These people who has been living in the IDPs in Malakal for the last few years,
I haven't heard anything like this happen. And now there are two scenarios here that we need to talk about and find out whether not to be politicized. Number one is the crisis in Sudan. We have more South Sudanese who are coming back to South in Madlut, in Reng and Malakal. They flow back. Whether they settle in different areas within in the border, that's one thing. Number two, the coming of Johnson Olinch to Juba for the peace agreement. He met the president just a day or few days, 2 days ago. And what do you think has triggered this uh, violence to occur in the IDPs camp?
Obviously, if you look at the crisis that we have from 2013, 2016, that lead to the establishment of this particular IDP camps. As I said previously, it's called POC. It is political issues. And those political issues have ethnic component. That's one thing. And if you're to speak specifically to Malakal, in Malakal, it have clash of ethnicity control or ethnic control of what is called Malakal town between the three ethnic groups, the Shuluk, the Nuer, and the Dinka. And of course, it's not a new scenario. It's a scenario we've heard about it before. And with the 2013 crisis and 2016 crisis, it's becoming more deeper. Now, sometimes people do say camps are also a potential ground for recruitment of young people into armed groups. So there's a political allegiance among the ethnic groups in the camps. And I would like to tell you, for example, I've been traveling from Malakal because I have a project which work with the youth from the POC. And the project is that the youth contribute their own personal money, around 100 something thousand. And I have to add on it some money as a project. We're supposed to implement a youth business project in Malakal, which is called Malakal Youth Cooperative Society, which is supposed to be an entity of promoting business among young people. For the last 1 year, the donors that are giving the money couldn't allow us to go there. Why? Because every now and then, there's emerging tension among the ethnic groups in the POC, and mainly these are the Shuluk and the Nuer. So because of the political tension in the history of administration and governance of Malakal, this has huge impact in the camp among the IDPs. So the IDPs live there. Now lead to the split of the IO forces between the Kitiguang group and the Agwelek that have added more. And even there's accusations that any either of the side, being Simon Gatwage or being Olong, are recruiting from among the young people in the POC. Obviously, this particular idea may hold water because these are young people who have no jobs, who have no employment. They have been denied livelihood, so they can find any way to go. Though these evidence are not scientific proof, but there's a rumors that there's a high chances that young people will be recruited by the fighting parties in the Upper Nile in the breakdown of IO into Kitiguang, and then Kitiguang also break into Simon Gatwich wing and Olong wing. The ethnic tension between the Nuer and the Shuluk have increased. Besides, of course, the government is also playing its role in this particular context. So based on this context, it means the ethnic friction among the three ethnic groups is every now and then keep on increasing or keep on worsening. So this is an exercise. I follow it closely. I have my reliable source in the camp. I've been talking to them. What's the trigger exactly? They told me, look here, there's a continuous tension among these two ethnic groups. There's issues of schools who have been occupied, debate around leaving these schools been for quite long. There's the issues of whenever there's a tension between Katwich and Olong, as it take an ethnic line of Shuluk and Nuer. This also, it has a history of tension in the camp. But this particular incident, one particular boy was found dead, and there's an accusation of the perpetrators' community identity. So revenge was carried out this morning. The revenge immediately triggered that deadly violence. And of course, this deadly violence, I'm saying, is just only an effect of a continuous tension between these two communities. Some of these tensions are linked to the history of ownership of Malakal. Some of these tensions are linked to the split among the armed groups between Olony and Simon Gatwich as IO break out or defections, or who have defected from IO and formed the Kitiguang and then the Agwelek. So actually, one of the indicators I have is that since the breakdown of IO into Agwelek and Kitiguang declaration, the two ethnic groups, and specifically when they start fighting each other in terms of Simon Gatwich and Olony, the tension between the two ethnic groups of the two fighting forces between Simon Gatwich and Olony keep on increasing. And I remember one time I was here in a talk show, I was telling what's going around the Zulu kingdom, where starvation is being used as a weapon of war. People are pushed into waters, you starve in the waters, mosquitoes deal with you in the waters, you contract disease in the waters, no any services, and you are forced to starve until you die of starvation. That's one bigger issue. And remember, in this continuous issue, we have started experiencing children of Shuluk being adopted by Nuer to the site of Jongole. And I remember I was involved with the prophet Makwach, where he took quite a number of Shuluk children. They were returned later on. Some were saying they returned on Ramasam, but no, they really returned through negotiation. So that particular tension is a new trend that is growing between the Shuluk and the Nuer that have implication. So any slight incident, even I'll tell you honestly, a disagreement between two ethnic groups in these camps over a bottle of beer is a potential trigger for ethnic clashes. If I went to a bar and the bottle of beer is only left one in the bar, and I'm one ethnic group and somebody's another ethnic group confront me in buying this bottle of beer, and we disagree with this bottle of beer, we disagree in the bar over this bottle of beer, it's a complete ethnic issue. So revenge is a common, revenge is something that is not sanctioned by any level of an institution that imposes rule of law. If, for example, if you talk of state institutions or customary courts, they can't really sanction revenge. Revenge is happening. So it's because of revenge that happened. But because it takes a political dimension, why? It takes political dimension now. Remember Olony when came first, when he was coming to Juba, is a nightmare, is a scenario. He's coming tomorrow, he cancels not coming tomorrow, he's coming next tomorrow, he's not coming next tomorrow. Sometimes people come into social media, he says he's not in trust of the president. Sometimes you know I'm coming. Now he came. When he came, the next debate is he's supposed to meet the president. Why is his meeting delayed? Why are people on this? He's supposed to be arrested. All those, if you see all those political developments, might have contributed in fueling tension and friction in the POC between the two ethnic groups. So any slight incident between the two ethnic groups, that particular political implications have a presidency of influencing opinion, decisions, and actions. And that's what has happened in the POC in Malakal or in the IDPs camp in Malakal because of the historical tension. So the coming of Johnson Olony and his meeting. And remember, one of the things that I'm trying to see whether the criminal act is an intended political motivated criminal act, because it's the same day where Johnson Olony met the president, the criminal act happened on Wednesday. And immediately today in the morning, heavily deadly revenge attack happened where now people are counting over 14 persons who are killed from the two conflicting communities. So the question is, was it really a criminal or it's a political design intention of generating tensions among the two communities? And remember, in the beginning, I've said that the two warlords or the two leaders, Johnson Olony and Simon Gatwich Banden, have a chances of doing some recruitments from the POC. So it means POC is already, or the IDPs camp is already a politicized setups of groups. And unfortunately, this happened at a moment where UNUMIS, within their mandate, they don't have a direct responsibility to provide protection of civilians inside the IDPs camps. Why? Because the former SRG have handed over to the government. But unfortunately, government cannot access it because there's a deficit in trust and confidence of those who are in the POC over the government agencies that may go to the camp that have been policed. That's what today, when the incident happened, the government went into the camp, but they can't stay in the camp, but they have to retreat back. And the only thing is now curfew is being imposed. And this also raises a question of how clean are the IDPs camps? Are they free of arms, or are there flow of arms and bullets in the hands of the camp? Of course, if you can have a tension among communities and people can shoot guns for over an hour or hour plus, and that can result to the loss of lives, it means somebody somewhere is aiding these particular individuals with ammunitions and with the bullets, whether it is for political gain or for commercial gain, because people have no access to income, specifically men and women in uniform, the income is very low, whether they are also engaged in illegal armed trade as a means of earning income to save their livelihood purposes. Of course, those are all factors that likely some of them, if they are investigated, they may hold water. But the unfortunate thing is that we're not losing anybody, we're losing our own. In relation to the returnees who are South Sudanese from Sudan due to the violence in Sudan, whether might have contributed in fueling this, the only aspect, if there's an aspect of returnees in this particular crisis in the IDPs camp, may be an ethnic tension. But presence of returnees in the camp that might have contributed frictions is completely not there, is completely zero. But because maybe of ethnic tension and some political elites which have ill feelings and ill thinking might have used the presence of Olony in Juba to complicate or to set up a political scenarios and political thinking that might have contributed to the occurrence of this violence in a deadly manner, though the origin is a criminal act, but have ended up now a politicized ethnic violence.
Thank you, Edmund. UN, United Nations, UNIMES, they released a press statement this morning. They're saying that, according to their press release, they say that the United Nations in South Sudan is grave concern about the interruption, intention, deadly inter-communal fighting this morning in UN protection camp, POC. Malakal, they report that 3 people have been killed as on Thursday early in the afternoon, and 20 are injured. So they are very concerned about that, their press release. So my question to you, why the UNIMES allowed the weapon to be in the camp? Why they don't, the UNIMES, because they are the one responsible to protect civilians in the camp. Why they don't go around and search for the weapon if people smuggling in the weapon inside the POC? Why they don't go there and do it? Can the UNIMES can be blamed on this too?
To be sincere with you, we could have blamed UNIMES if the camp still remained under their administration. The former SRG have done something that I'd like to bring to your audience to understand that they have handed over the POCs into the government, and even in some of their reports, they don't call it any protection of civilian side, they call it IDPs camps, because that period of protection of civilian side have linked with their mandate, and in their mandate, they try to clean it up. So the language is supposed to be IDPs camps. After withdrawal of UNIMES, I think the element of having an agent that acts as a government player or a player on behalf of the government like UNMIS to control flow of arms and bullets into the camp, after it is zero. I don't think that we should be blaming UNIMIS for that because they handed it over to the government. But the dilemma is that even South Sudan Police Service cannot go and provide a protection there. Why? Because some of the citizens who are in these IDPs camps have deficit in trust and confidence against state agencies. And some of them, they see the police as the same people who force them to get displaced. If they see the army, they say it's the same people who made them to be displaced. So they don't trust, they don't have confidence on them. And this has weakened the state capability in fostering rule of law in those camps. So that is a challenge. So you find, like, that these campsites are close to UN, but UN have withdrawn of having a direct responsibility in providing an early warning for prevention of potential communal violence. Now is under the hand of the government. But unfortunately, government couldn't really go inside the camps and engaged. Simply why? Because people who are left at the camp having deficit in trust on the government. And those who have trust and confidence in the government, some of them have walked out of those camps and they're living outside the IDPs camps or outside what's called the POC. So for me, that is where we need to understand the context so that we don't rush and blame UNIMIS while actually UNIMIS have handed over the government. The government is supposed to provide protection. But unfortunately, the government cannot provide protection because there's a deficit from some of the members in the camp towards the government agencies, but also the element of the parties to the agreement not being genuine in implementing the transitional security arrangement, that we could have a unified police force deployed to those sites to prevent violence could have been the best option. But as we speak now, the first graduated batch up to now is not being redeployed with so many excuses, either associated with arms embargo, we don't have arms at hand, or associated we don't have money. Sometimes here money is being passed by the Council of Ministers, or money within the release, but we don't see redeployment, and we see President recently pushing for redeployment. That's another aspect, that if we could have a unified forces, then maybe you might have regained citizen trust and confidence for them to provide protection. And this is going to be the future challenge for these IDPs camps. And specifically, in this particular context that you have seen tension on ethnic or clan lines within the POC, if you're to add electoral culture and electoral fever and electoral competition culture into this context, it may be more deadly than what we have seen today in Malakal. And that's why we're really keen about the government taking responsibility of providing protection of civilians in the IDPs camps, because UN may not continue to keep that. But also, as you know, with UN, how bureaucratic they are in terms of they doing their work in providing protection. It's not like something easy that somebody, you remember the train incident. The train incident is in front of UNMIS in less than, I can't say over 500 meters. It is close to the fence, but you see journalists were killed, women were raped, and later on trial after. But it's an area closer, because sometimes there's a bureaucracy within the UN system in terms of which forces need to deploy. If you want to deploy forces that the contributing country is A, sometimes even if UN have its own system, the forces of country A need to seek from the headquarters whether should they go and provide a safety and protection. And this is the case of Chinese with train. It happened because they have to keep on debating that, we need to get our commanders back home to give us, or our government to give us authorization besides the under UN helmet. So that's how complex the question of protection of civilians, or fostering a culture that will offer protection of civilians in the situation like what happened today in Malakal. It's really a bit dilemma. It's a bit confusing. So yeah, I wish if it's supposed to be POC, we could have directly blamed UNMIS. Now, because since they've handed over a year or 2 years, is now an IDP camp, they can easily escape. But of course, they can say they're concerned about what's going against civilians, because within their mandate, they have to ensure civilians are protected. They will speak to that particular text in their mandate. But the reality is, we're supposed to have state agencies. But also sometimes some of these individuals in the camps, I'm not accusing them, all of them, not everyone. Some of them are politicians that also like to take advantage of the situation for maintaining their political relevance in making sure there's a mess that is going on, like what has happened in Malakal today.
Thank you, Edmund. As you see, like the way environment, I don't know how they set up the POC camp. How do they live together, Shuluk and Nuer? So my question to you is like, what is the way forward exactly? What would be the solution if this violence continue? So yeah, one of the solutions you mentioned, that the government have to deploy the forces around the area so that to prevent. But still, because this violence will still continue if the two communities live together. So is it a good way for POC can be divided into two camps? Like Shuluk, for instance, can stay in one camp, and Nuer can stay in one camp to prevent further violence. So is it another way? Or because right now the country is in peace, there's no war between government and rebels, why don't these POC civilians can return back to their homes where they come from? Is that what the government and the UN doing for this far? How long are they keep them there into the camp?
Thank you very much. I think in terms of way forward, from what we have experienced today in Malakal, we need to see really a dignified voluntary return of our citizens in the camps back to the settlement. But of course, in places like Malakal, the complexity is that also if they want to return, some of them, I don't say all of them, so I don't generalize it. Some of them have their houses been occupied. So for me, that's another challenge that we need to see how can bit of government coming in to evict those who occupied houses of some of the people who are in the pews. That's one thing that is very necessary, that into there. But I think also the political parties who are seeking to revitalize peace agreement need to play a role of softening relationship between ethnic lines that are in clash in terms of, for example, setup of the ethnic competition in Malakal over the ownership of Malakal town, or who really is in charge of Malakal, requires a coming in of state agencies, and that's why the parties become very important. And one thing that is a bit confusing also is that this incident happened in prior a planning of Vice President Wanega is supposed to go to Malakal for peace campaign under the direction of the president. So instead of saying like why this incident happened when supposed to be Vice President Wanega is supposed to be in Malakal, why what went wrong? So this tells you it means there's also some elements of political implications. So another way of solving the problem is that politicians need to distance themselves in contributing with a violent approach whenever there's a misunderstanding among our communities in this protection of civilian sites. That's really something that we need also to be a way forward, that politicians should not take advantage of any friction among our communities to politicizing. And those who like revenge attacks, they need to be informed to distance themselves, because this revenge attacks leads to communal violence. The option of they leaving the camps and go to a better choice area of their own, it's a voluntary decision. It's a decision that you cannot impose on it. But we have witnesses how much now people have quit these IDP camps. If you look at Malakal, the size have reduced. You look at Bor, the size have reduced. You look at Western Baragazal, wow, the size have reduced. You look at Unity, the size have reduced. But obviously, this particular kind of camps, sometimes it may become a new trend of a new settlement that is not easy to dismantle. And that's why the role of the government in regaining trust of its own citizens who are in this protection of civilian sites or the POCs is very important in terms of way forward. But if we're to really ask them to return, the return have to be voluntary and dignified.
Thank you. Isaac, do you have more question? I have one person here, Luan Yang, have a question. Do you have any question, Isaac?
No, let Luan Yang go ahead.
Okay. Luan Yang, if you can hear my voice, you can go ahead and ask a question.
Thank you very much. The question
can you hear him, Yakani?
Yes.
Okay.
I do hear Lonjang. I don't hear Lonjang. Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, I want to appreciate your media here first, Eagle Media, South Sudan Eagle Media, and I want to give a special thanks for this brother up there, Hamadan, for coming up. What happened here is the question. UN nothing to do with this. My question is, agreement has been signed. There's no fighting between any rebel here.
Mm-hmm.
Would be a good idea. What happened in Malakal, you can see now it moved into tribal thing. Government should take over Malakal completely and send in Johnson Ulwen should be sent in to take Chiluk out, to be all responsible for that. And then Yobati Shiba staff, which is a something from Iowa, should go there and where UN is powerless, have nothing to do with this. This is the responsibility of government of South Sudan now. No tribe can occupy or evict other tribe when there is no rebellion anymore. So why you guys, UN, do not ask this question? because SPLM-IO chief of staff, when Garway left, Riek Machar chief of staff should be patched in Malakal quickly to take all Nuer out in Malakal, take them somewhere. Johnson Ulwan should be taken out, should look out, and let UN and government of South Sudan see who's going to create problem here. If this happened or just left in the UN when UN have no mandate to secure the peace over there. When you have a government talking with for election, and you can see yesterday people were talking about election. Today is a violence. Thank you very much. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Luanjang. Thank you. You can go ahead, Yakani.
Thanks to my brother Lonjang in terms of his idea of what he thinks as a solution to the crisis by posting it through question or framing it in question form. I think Malakal is having a complex situation. And this complex situation, some politicians are gaining out of it, by the way. This is something that I'd like to bring to my brother Lonjang. I don't really blame massive population of the ethnic setup of Malakal, but I blame some few political elites that are using that particular ethnic differences for their political gain. That's something that I'd like to make it very clear. If we are not to politicize ethnic tensions, and if we're to go with the real history, we could have reduced all these incidents. And I'd like to say this incident is not new. So, for example, let me give an example that is very clear, and this found me live on the ground. You remember in 2008 or 2009, when Bashir was coming to Malakal, under the implementation of the CPA, there was a competition over ethnic lines who should enter the stadium first and end up in violence. Is it a Shuluk who entered the stadium first, or is it a Dinka who entered the stadium first, or is it a Nuer who entered the stadium first? If to ask our normal citizen, if they are not to be politicized, who enter first doesn't matter. But for political reasons, people say who enter first is the owner of the soil. So some people define the ownership of the soil associated with an entry of traditional dance to the stage first. And that has caused chaos. So whether there's a peace or there's no peace, whether there's a stability or there's no stability, the situation in Malakal requires political consensus among its sons and daughters from the three ethnic lines to reach consensus. Because that time there's nothing called POC, that time there's nothing called rebels, that time there's nothing called like flow of arms in the hands of civilians, but violence has happened. So it is already a bailed-up case study that requires a sustainable and durable solutions to it. And a durable solution is consensus of what defines peace among the different ethnic groups of Upper Nile state. So that's one thing and now because of the political tension, and because of this new merging political culture where violence is being used by a certain class of political elites as a ladder to power, it has made things more complex. So my position is that what Lunjang have raised is that if the citizen in the IDPs camps are supposed to have trust on the government, they could have been a rightful source for this particular situation that is going on in Malakal as a government agent. But because there's a deficit in citizen trust and confidence on the government, you come to realize that they can't play that big role. And that's why what Lunjang was proposing for me, it's a solution where if there's a trust and confidence, but also bringing in this particular political armed group class, I don't think it's going to be soft the way Lunjang think about it. It's not going to be soft. It's going to complicate matters worse. So for me right now is we need to bring a champions of peace. We need to bring a champions of promoting peaceful coexistence among these communities first. We need to cut down the culture of aggression among the communities. Then from there, because look here, we are supposed to peacefully coexist, regardless of our ethnic group, if we don't politicize tensions among ourselves. But because we politicize tensions so much, and we have these political elites that like to use ethnic differences for justifying their political legitimacy of presence in the world of politics, they have complicated for us everything. So the people to be blamed is really these politicians that like to invest their political relevance on communal violence. They are the really players that we like to blame them directly. Even if you take the government, you bring UN, you bring whoever, it will never happen. Simply why? Because some people are investing heavily to see this tension continuing among our communities. The blood of a community sometimes is of a political gain to certain political class. And this goes directly to the mindset of some individuals who claim to be elites from the ethnic groups of the Malakal state, which is mainly Dinka, Shuluk, and Nuer. But if it to be normal, the question is why in long history people are able to coexist peacefully? Why is it from 2013 things start complicating, tough? And for Malakal, the clear reason is that even before, under the CPA era, there were tension over the issue of Malakal ownership. So for me, people should really be shameful to see that they have political argument that leads to claim of lives of innocent South Sudanese citizens, being male or female. So for me, that's the biggest, and that's how complex it is that things have happened. And remember, even inside Malakal before this incident, there were crimes of assassinations. You remember Director General of one of the ministries was shot dead. And remember, there's almost an area close to Malakal University. In the dark nights, you can't go there because you'll be shot dead. Like as if there's an ethnic snipers within the town of Malakal that are becoming snipers of eliminating people on ethnic line. And it's the same thing that will happen in the camp. One person was found dead, and immediately there's a suspicion that it's our counterparts or those who have up attention with them are the one who impose it. So what we need to do is we need to see presence of government that impose and foster culture of rule of law across the ethnic line without any form of discrimination, so that law and order can exist. Because where there's no law and order, can't go. And these also have a direct link and direct connection with the level of trust and confidence among the political elites at national level. Because the moment you have mistrust among the political elites at national level, that is the consequences of what we have seen today happening in Malakal camp. Because some people take advantage, even it's a criminal act. As I said, you leave the crime. A disagreement between two ethnic groups over a bottle of beer in Malakal, it's a national issue. These are two individuals whom we don't know what is behind them, but because they went to a bar, they disagree, they shoot at each other. We may look at from the who shot who, which ethnic particular identity have shot what particular ethnic identity. Immediately we do start doing political analysis and revenge. So that is how complex the situation is. So for me, if we're to look for solution, we need the sons and daughters of Malakal across the ethnic line to reach consensus that we need to peacefully coexist. And if we have differences, violence is not the option for resolving it. That for me, that's the spirit, that's the political value that we need sons and daughters of Malakal to impose it. And this incident which happened in Malakal, you will see the political analysis. Some will analyze it. Why does it happen when Wanega is supposed to go there for peace mission? Some will analyze it. Why is it after the meeting of Johnson Olony with the president? Some will bring both analysis of one is going, being suspended, and or after Olony's meeting, what is happening. Then they connect to certain rumors that might have happened in the past. They will qualify it. Tomorrow you may see another worse deadly event in Malakal. And specifically, if we don't see state presence now, there's a high likelihood of a revenge attacks against those who have been lost their lives. Now, the numbers reading 14 are all dead. In the beginning was 3, but now it's 14 dead. That means when you say 3 dead at the spot and 20 were injured, that means we have already lost lives. Some of those of the 20 or more people are injured. So it is going to be a tense situation in Malakal town. And that's why my appeal goes to sons and daughters of Malakal that avoid politicizing ethnic disagreements and don't turn it to become a violence. And one of the funny things that I realized, I have to be honest, one of the funny things I would like to challenge our political elites that come from Malakal, their politics are read on ethnic line always. And of course, it became a common culture in South Sudan and across, not only Malakal alone. Almost in every part of South Sudan, ethnicity has become a political ticket. Everywhere. And I've been seeing this culture is becoming now formalized. Formalized by who? By professors. Doctor, PhD holders. PhD holders are writing theses. They are writing articles. They're speaking in public events. I can see in Clubhouse. I'm sorry. I'm not really using a stereotype, and I'm not discriminating. If this is the mindset of you guys in diaspora, if this is the benefit of you being in diaspora, for being ethnic, actually we are worried you may become ambassador of ethnic tensions that you may import to this country. Some of you are eating well, you are in a good AC condition, you don't know the pain that today our brothers and sisters are running in the camp. You don't know the implication of the violence today in the camp that are affecting persons with disability from different ethnic lines. But some of you go to social media and now qualify that. And you start using certain knowledge that you have learned, certain terminologies, you start constructing some statements. That sometimes makes some people like us get so much stress of some of the argument you're putting on the media. And of course, some of the people are even with us here. Some of us are in V8. You find somebody in V8 start making a phone call. He is in a V8 of the state, but he start politicizing ethnic tensions as a leader. Honestly, we need to repent. I'm sorry to use the word repent, is a religious word, but I don't think South Sudanese are ready to repent. And specifically the upcoming generation, which is ethnic fuel so badly. So this is my appeal that we take responsibility. As South Sudanese is a turning point that we all need to say no for using ethnicity as a political ticket.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Edmund Yakani, for answering Luanjang's question. We got three more people in the clubhouse. The first person who came up before was Moindit. And then Wilson, get prepared with your question, and Wani.
Okay, you guys, I can give you guys 2 minutes to ask your question. We're running out of time. Okay, who's next? Isaac.
Yeah, Moindit, open your mic, please. Moindit, open your mic.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brother Medit and Isaac here. I really appreciate your media, and you guys are doing a wonderful job. My question goes to Brother Edmund Yakani. And now, given that situation now happening in Malakal, one today, General Woolen was meeting with His Excellency the President. Don't you think that it could be possible outstanding warlord groups who are trying to sabotage the meeting between President Woolen? That's one. Second, okay, we are very much aware now that United Nations is doing nothing less than just saying that. An example of Congo. Congo now has been suffered a lot, especially Eastern Congo, until eventually East African sent by force has to intervene, including our own troops. Why can the government take that initiative and trying to deal this massively to make sure to rescue this terrorist? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Moindit. Can I suggest this to those who are watching and listening in the clubhouse? All of you, three of you, to give in your question, and then Mr. Edmund will answer them all at once. So, Wilson, it's your turn, please.
All right, thank you, Medit, and thank you, Isaac, Langang, and Yakani, if you're still there. Yeah, my question will go directly. We are aware that the governor of Upper Nile is from the Iowa, and that state, seeing the governorship was been given to Iowa, there is no peace. We see in case of Kitwang themselves, they fought as a group who effect from Iowa and later end up to become a tribal war with two communities, Chinook and Nuer. And now this kind of war started last week, and I heard that a girl being pregnant. So my question is that really the case in POC? That's one question. A second question. What is the Iowa leaders? What is Edmund Shah, who is now the African? And at the same time, the governor of that state is the same, comes from ethnic Shilluk. And where are the IO to intervene? I don't think it is the right idea that the general government would be involved, because the tension last year between Ulony and Gerwidwal will, to me, I will not suggest to bring Ulony in. It could fuel up the last year thing where the White Army will come in supporting Gerwidwal and all these things. So I don't encourage Ulony to be part of this right now. I am asking Victoria Mucha with his governor, where are they? That's one thing. Now, if people are killed in a UN POC and they were brought there, that's why it's called POC, which is protection came. What are they protecting? And you, people of non-profit organization like you, can you now indicate if the South Sudanese UN are there just to get your money? They are not there for the people of South Sudan. Could those, if that's the case, could those POC camp to be mental? Because last week, somebody burned inside the POC. They never come out and talk about it. And it's the same UN can turn around and come talk about human rights. So where is human rights here if people are burned inside the POC and they don't allow government of the state to go inside the camp? That's their policy. But we heard that the government now is surrounding outside the camp, but they cannot go inside the camp because of the UN policy, while UN is allowing people to kill themselves in front of them. So what is the goal of the UN doing there in South Sudan? So these are my two questions. Where is Victoria commercial leadership in Africa? And what the UN are doing if the South Sudanese are killing themselves, like somebody burned last week in the middle of the UN, and they are not talking about nothing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wilson. The last person with the question is Wanisuke. Unmute yourself and weigh in your question. Thank you.
Ana isn't Wanisoka. Lakin but brother Wall, what I want to beg you guys, let us go to between Nolotit and Bantus. Ana bet mana why mean no compass world will imagine kilata biom form best anehna and Nolotit. Lano fi aseda gisutu and who dinka unwer obare omondare umunu like Bantus. We need to separate each other apart. Ana bet man best why mean no kumeli inshallah word halal. Kilafta best this is the Naloti problem. Ana mix and the Luba in the Lokaya, in the Zande, in the Kita, in the Kita, who also tie up in the P. Mandeka Japo. Take Ana Bahari Munu. This is what I need one day. Look at you with the halal. Yet the best form. That is the Naloti. And Fogo Denka, Fogo Nuer, Fogo Bare, Fogo Mandikulu, Naloti Baruko, Naloti Munu. Bantu Banas Munu. Yakwana, please, Yakwana. Now there is Anamagara Jama. The Kerala Morube Afas, Umi Baruko, Morube, Dora P. Anamagara Jama. Anaji America, Anna Garret, Ajagulu, Anna machine, like Najata Beteriga, Zakami Rapana. Like you to Lagaradel, Mati Jana Betala Inu, great Ajatan. This is a Bantus forum, or other than a Loti forum. And would be Samila no Bari, Mutuko, Denka, Nuera, Yakwana. After the career, we didn't go back to the truth who we are. Who we are. Well, Korea, I just had a bit Gulanma, well, Korea, we are not looking. Pogo Lutuko, Pogo Bari, Pogo Denka, Pogo Nuera, Pogo Yayo, Korea, any time to get that. Please, boys, please. And I come to this.
All right.
And the region white best are currently Jama. Miss Kalu Kurera, as a kapalere kan tala baka binajile in ism tata bas.
Wallah, shukran.
Thank you, Uncle Wani.
Shukran jazilan Wani Soka. Shukran. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle Wani.
Edmund Yakani, you can just respond those questions from now. Thank you.
I think I'll respond to them generically without referring to a single particular question, but I will quote some of them in my responses as a particular individuals. First, I'd like to say there's a high chances of terrible political analysis on what's going on in Malakal today. There's analysis, as I said, in the trend of Vice President Waniga visiting Malakal. This incident happened and he suspended his visit to Malakal, which is called Peace Mission. There are those who are now engaging on that particular trend and they're doing that analysis. There are those who will analyze why is it immediately after the meeting of Johnson Olony with the president. They will do analysis there. They will go as far as looking whether Olony have enemies that want to sabotage his meeting or whoever is fighting off, that they will take it there. There are those who will analyze in the line of the political leadership of the state. Where are they? And you have seen it been asked as a genuine question. And the party that's in charge of the state, where is it? And that's who say, oh, this is actually to undermine. So all these analyses are going to happen, multiple analysis. As Wani was speaking, that it is really a nightmare to see the way Hausa Sudanese were sometimes doing false analysis to qualify violence to happen. So that those analyses will happen. And I think I do agree with the caller who says this is not a moment you need to see Johnson Olony on the ground in Malakal or Simon Gatwich. It will complicate things. Actually, if I'm asked to offer a political solution to Malakal, I'm one of the person I will propose the governor of Malakal should neither be Suluk, neither Denka, neither Nuer. You get an Avukaya or a Mondo, or you get another Mali somewhere, put him there as a governor. To set up, because the seat of the governorship is not seen from merit, it's seen from an ethnic dominance. Is seen from soil ownership. And that's why I wish we could have not break into the violence and could have not lost Dr. John Garang, the first appointment where people are dumped away from their states to administer affairs. I think that's the best way of building culture because, and unfortunately also we have chiefs who are there in the village. They're not in Juba, they're not in America, they're not everywhere. They like to fuel these issues of ethnic differences so much. They're traders in the market. They are women of the tea. I've been there in Malakal for quite long. They're individuals that you don't see them as one were crying that we the educated class, why not? But the people also who are there on the ground who look at those lines so much and they sharpen so much. So for me, that's the particular proposition that I would like to give as my response to the calls that are there. The challenge of why government cannot provide protection of civilians is the failures of the parties who signed the agreement not to unify the forces and redeploy them within the spirit of the agreement. That's a big challenge. And one case study to tell the challenge and to tell their weaknesses is the incident in Malakal. And Malakal is not for the first time. It's a recurrent situation that we have. And I will tell you, this is not going to be the last. Still, we're going to witness more deadly than what we have seen now, which unfortunately is not something that we don't wish to have it. But unfortunately, the reality is showing us on the ground that ethnic tensions is growing so much among those forces. So without having a unified, professional, unified forces, Malakal will not be stable. And Malakal is an area that is witnessing ethnic tension so much. Is as equal, and let me tell you one thing I'd like to just bring in this before I could go for the other questions. To the audience and to particular you, our brothers and sisters who are in diaspora. The tendency of definition of headquarters of a state associated with ethnic control is growing in South Sudan. I'll give an indicator. We previously talked about Malakal from 2010 during this era of the CPA. Later on, we shifted to WOW. The question of when WOW county will have to be moved out of WOW and taken somewhere. It brings tensions. And even a conference was suspended in WOW in deciding the destiny of what is happening within the WOW community. People by then were saying, oh, it's an issue of WOW, it's an issue of WOW. It came to Bor. When the mayor issued an order that the commissioner of Bor County cannot fly his flag of the county within the municipality, the Bor committee are asking, Where is this municipality coming from? Bor will come from Mahalo. And the first we had Malakal from Mahalo. Later on we had Wow from Mahalo. Now we're hearing Bor from Mahalo. It will become the same thing here in Juba city. You change the mayorship and put another person. People start questioning, where is this city coming from? So everywhere in every town, we want to connect political seat with ethnic dominance, which is becoming a disease that is really breaking down social cohesion among South Sudanese. And that's why what Wanise is correct. Why are we so much possessed with ethnicity in terms of public affairs? And simply because some people have used ethnicity as an instrument of silencing others, which is wrong. Don't use ethnicity as a political ticket, but also don't use ethnic dominance for silencing voices of others. That's really a big issue that we need to move out of that trend. And that answers the question of Wani that comes in. Now the question of where is the IO in the different levels? Malakal is one of the states that there's a lot of spoilers about peace and stability. So you come to realize whoever comes, even not only, they don't go beyond IO and IO leadership. Even the seat of deputy governorship, which is SPLM, is contested. Is equal as the seat of the governor. So the political chairs in Malakal are not stable. They are under earthquake. These are political seats put on earthquake. They are so bouncing. Even ministerial positions, county positions are bouncing. Look at what happened in Maban about the commissionership. Look at what's happening in Rang, what's happening in Melut about the county commissionership. Every political seat is bouncing in Malakal. Why? Because people like too much ethnic analysis of how the government should function. That's a topple of weakness that I would like to answer. That even you talk about the IO seat of the governorship, I know the seat of deputy governorship is contested. Commissionership has been contested. The question comes is, why should we look at the government from an ethnic line? That's another big issue that goes into, my brother asked, like, where is the IU with their various levels of leadership being react on the governor because the state is under them? There's so many spoilers of peace and stability in Malakal from an ethnic line. Now, coming forward to the question, okay. So yeah, I'm going to answer this question of unified forces were graduated in Malakal. Where are they? Don't forget about Malakal. Juba one in front of the presidency. Even where are they? We're asking. You leave the graduation of unified forces in Malakal, in Bor. I attended all these graduations, and all these graduations I've been pushing myself to have a space to talk. Even the one graduated before the presidency. Where are they in Juba? And why are they graduated with the sticks? These are all terrible questions that we need to question the political leadership of the day. None of them is clean and none of them can work free. All of them deserve joint blames that when this country is, and that's why I used to tell people that if there's any failure of peace and stability under the revitalized peace agreement, the first people we have to blame it is the members of the presidency. That's something that I like to make it clear. UN. Yes, UN is there, but what will they provide? And specifically, I would like to repeat myself to the audience that this POC is now changed to IDP scams. They will patrol their vehicles around the camp for 1 hour. 10 to 15 people will sit somewhere. They'll be smoking. Maybe you look at them with blue helmet. You thought that maybe they're talking about protection. They're talking about how much are we earning. We're going to go back. I'm going to construct. I'm going to build something. They may not be talking about protection. But the question comes, is a primary responsibility of our political elites. What are they doing to prove that we don't need UN? Are we becoming Congolese way that we're doing things? So UN is ready to leave if we change our political attitudes and our behaviors. And the primary responsibility to make them go is resting in our fingertips. So it's us to improve our behaviors and our way of doing things. But also it's us to entertain them to continue the way how we conduct our business. So they will go if we conduct our business in the right way. So that's one thing that is really happening there. Of course, it's the same thing. Let me tell you one other thing I'm saying. Do you believe our South Sudan People's Defense Force being deployed to Goma under the East African Peacekeeping Pie Force, will they provide peace in Goma? If they sit in Goma, wallahi, my friend, believe me, I swear. SPLA biyakul gurus bejina warahena, bemchef ahila, beb ni bet tamam bezink, and actually even all of us shall migrate, shall leave problem in the house. We want to go as peacekeepers. So all of us will go to the uniform to build farm so that you are deployed. Even we're ready to be deployed. As long as I can deploy and I get my $100 on monthly basis than waiting for 6 months in Juba for maybe $50. Everybody become a peacekeeper, and everybody behave well to become a peacekeeper to go outside. This is the way how these peacekeepers have come to our country. So it is us to put our house into an order and tell them, bye-bye, please go back where you come from. We need to administer ourselves. And sometimes they operate under loans against us. So for me, my answer goes back to that. My last message to the audience, I'm appealing. When God created us as tribes, it was not meant to be a curse. It's meant to be a blessing. But unfortunately, my brothers and sisters, I have less hope of having what one is calling what dal halal, what one is calling keli what dal halal tani keli zahir. The way I saw Clubhouse, we don't have what dal halal completely. We have enough what I can call confused mindsets that doesn't care about the nation, but care about the tribe where they come from, care about the region where they come from. Sometimes a single person from a particular ethnic group act is contributed to be generalized as a complete community problem. So honestly, we need a change of attitudes at all levels. Those of us who claim academia as experts, let's change our attitudes. Those who claim they are politicians, let's change our attitudes. Look at, if you can reach to a level in a crime, you can reach to a level of burning a car of a bishop, whom we think in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, when we are in Christ, He will pray for us. The car is burned, and He told that, do you go back? Al wadak Arabiada, am silotani jiblek Arabiatani, witaloja barabedena list sabinahrigu. If we reach to that level, my worry is that we're losing sense of nationalism. We become more separatist among ourselves. We become more ethnic driven. And sometimes these behaviors, we shape them with the way how we speak, with the knowledge we have gained, whether in country or outside country or within the region or in diaspora. Anyway, my last message, the South Sudan we won is based on your single attitudes. The beginning of your attitudes as a single South Sudanese, being male or female at whatever capacity, when you start with your own and you start changing your attitudes, and if all of us follow that particular direction, that is South Sudan we want. But if we don't change our attitudes, and the nature I've seen of arguments, that sometimes people call it as academic or expert argument, where ethnicity is used as a rationale of setting an idea and marketing knowledge, unfortunately, I would say it's a long way and it's a long bridge for us to cross to the South Sudan that we want, that will accommodate us all and where we'll feel social cohesion. So one, keep on praying and let God listen to your prayer. And I hope that God, once you're praying, should change the mindset of those who think tribalism and ethnicity is a ticket they want to use to justify their argument. That's a shame we have among ourselves with all the knowledge we have gained. Until we leave using ethnicity as a justification argument, we'll never build the South Sudan we want. We'll keep on splitting and we'll keep on defecting. We'll keep on fighting and losing lives of our own citizens. Thank you very much, Lex Media, for hosting me.
Thank you. Thank you, Edmund. We are about to come to an end our show. I have a last one. I will play the video, and then you will give me a response to this, because this is the last question. There is an incident happened in June 5th, last week. I think 3 days ago. Actually, or 4 days ago. So there was ambush. Bishop Amus dead. So the bishop was traveled from the area to Morobo.
Yeah, Morobo, between Morobo and Kaya.
So he was attacked on the road. About 15 soldiers came out from the bush. They attacked, they kidnapped him, and then they banned his car, and then later on they released him. So I will play the video that and then you will respond. So let me play this video very quick.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. I'm Archbishop Dr. Paul Yugusup, the Archbishop of Central Equatoria Internal Province. On behalf of the bishops of Central Equatoria Internal Province of the Episcopal Church of South Sudan Anglican Communion, I would like to condemn in its strongest term the ambushing and kidnapping of Bishop Amos Data Elenoma, which happened today at 10 a.m. along Kaya Morobo Road. This incident, this ambush and kidnapping was carried by the soldiers of National Salvation Front, where they dragged the bishop from the main road to the bush together with his vehicle, and later they informed the bishop categorically that they are targeting the church leaders because they are supporting the government. They later looted all the stuffs, the properties of the bishop, the cross, the Bible, the prayer book, and all the attire, the bishop's cassock and everything, and then later burn the car to ashes. We want to inform the leadership of National Salvation Front that the church is neutral. We are not supporting any side, but we are for peace. And therefore, we want to call upon National Salvation Front to adhere to the call of the President of the Republic, Salva Kiir Mayardit, for the resumption of the negotiation. Let us continue to pray for the bishop and his driver who have been released now, and they are in Morobo as they go through this difficult time. And may God bless all of us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bishop. Let me. So that's the video. Yeah. So I see the president's statement from NAS, and they're saying that they didn't do it. And there's a lot of what that the forces do it. So give up update. What is a threat information? The NAS, they are blaming government. They say Morobo is a territory of the government. So their forces are not present in that area. So those soldiers those forces that attack Bishop Carr, ban the Bishop Carr, they are not their forces. So what is on the ground there? What's the really truth there? So we hear it from Bishop. It's Bishop himself, Paul. He committed committed this tragedy, and also to the release from Commissioner Robo, and they point finger to Nas, and not are denying. So what is going on? What is the real update here? So give us a little update of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First, let's just say amen. That is actually area of my county. I closely follow that incident and been interacting with the people who should provide facts on the ground. First, the bishops say when the people come and faced him, they categorically say they are NAS. That's first the first indicator is that they tell Bishop, we are NAS. We are targeting you, as Bishop Paulo have said in his statement. Then they did all what they have done, which is inhuman. And actually, by the way, this is a very big crime. And I would like to tell you, people who are behind this crime, if it's NAS, they deny it, or if it's a government and then they want to blackmail NAS, this act is not going to end up like that. This act globally, it have drawn attention, it will be investigated, and the actual perpetrators will be named. And specifically to a spiritual leader, because an attack on a faith is an attack on identity. An attack on identity may mount as a crime against humanity. So up to now, there's a debate going on is that everybody around the area says it's a force of NAS, as we have seen statement from NAS saying it's not them. But the question is now, where are those soldiers? Where have they run to? And I will tell you, as a part of that area, investigation is going on. People are digging the facts, what has happened. And of course, part of the triggers came is that the bishop has been reckless, he's been speaking anyhow, sometimes when religious leaders speak, people like to qualify them that they're reckless, they have taken partisan. is as equal as the bishop of the Catholic for Juba Diocese, Santo. And Santo is speaking. Some people say, no, Santo is political. And some people dance the tune of Voice of Santo. But also when the same Santo speak against anybody who by then was dancing his tune, they will say he's also reckless. He's now pro-government, is being bought. So these political attitudes are very terrible. The reality is that somebody have to take responsibility. And per now, as I speak, is still the dominant message is that people who came, they said they're NAS. If you go to ask Bishop, who are the people, Bishop will tell you, honestly, I don't blame anybody, I blame NAS. Because I'm a first primary witness. And even some of the people said that we know the guys who came, some of them, who came and faced us. Of course, our brothers and sisters in NAS have denied that, they don't claim that, but I think they need to prove beyond that statement that they have issued. And as I speak now, investigation is going on. And not only a local investigation, international investigation is already, people are watching, people are collecting data. There's a high likelihood we'll see a report of the UN panel of experts reporting on this incident and will clearly level who is behind it. And that particular report, when it comes out, that's the moment we can host a talk show here to prove the facts. The worst part is that some people are carrying arms in their hands and they become too notorious that they start believing on ethnic lines. And one of the things I'm doing a research now, I'm now looking at the implication of public opinion that is shaped through social media platforms that may mount it to an act of fueling tensions, frictions, harassments, human rights violations. Because I think, I have to be honest with you, brothers and sisters, this Clubhouse, we're keenly, there's a very social media for us, we're keenly monitoring it and we're keenly following it, that sometimes let us use social media for good gain, for good purpose. And I remember when I went to follow this incident, I found religious leaders crying and knocking the soil. And if we are real Africans, when start attacking, even how much if the religious leaders is biased, tend to take time to give yourself time to maybe approach him in a different way. But really stealing attire. Somebody was telling me, no, this is the real Paul. This is the real Saul in the Bible that was commanding the forces. Because the way they behave, he behaved like a Saul. So the reality is that, and my message to us is that they really need to prove beyond doubt. Otherwise, they will start building enmity within the locals there. And of course, as a movement, the moment you start committing atrocities. And that's why one of the things I'm keen on is, why is there a silence on Rome peace process? And I've been interacting with the indigenous community. Bishop is now under attack. Why are they keeping so silent about Rome peace process, which is supposed to resume in May? So for me, these are some of the calls that I'd like to raise it. And my appeal is that I hope we'll change our attitudes. We are getting worse and worse every day, and we're committing atrocities that the world is wondering if whether our fighting for independence, it leads us to this act. So some people are wondering, like, do we really help you to be independent in order for you to behave in this manner? So it is an act that we strongly condemn, and those who are behind it, they should hold those who act on their behalf accountable. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Edmund. It's really heartbreaking when I see that image of Bishop Carter bent down, and thank God that they didn't kill him. So that's one of the things. I hope these people who done this, they will be brought to justice. So I will end up here. So we are come to conclusion. So we will set up another show upcoming days. So Isaac, if you can go ahead and put your last statement, and then we can give back Edmund to put his last remark before we close down the show. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Abraham. Thank you so much, Edmund Yakani, the CEO of SHEPO, for the updates and your energy that you are using, and your concern to all citizens of South Sudan. We really appreciated that. We have to say thank you. Keep doing that. It's a good thing. One person can do to your people. And to all our viewers and those who are in the clubhouse, we will hold a show very soon regarding the incident of Morobo Kaya road incident, the attack of the Bishop of Morobo, cars burned, and what has happened. That thing, it will take us a long time, so we will not add it into this briefing of the incident that has happened in Malakal. We have learned a lot and we have discussed it, and this information we need also to participate in our social media, in Clubhouse, to preach peace, because there are a lot of things that we can analyze that has collided with the visitation of the Vice President Waniga and the meeting of the President of the Republic with Gerald Johnson Oleng, and this incident has escalated anyhow, and it's gone so bad. So we will be having a talk on a show that we will be doing maybe in the weekend here. We will call over you, and I will yield the microphone back to you, Abram. And I have to say thank you, all of you, for tuning in to Lagos State Media and Eagle Media as well. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Edmund, you can give us your last remark before we let you go.
My last remark is that South Sudan will never be beneficial to us if we don't change our attitudes. And for everybody, wherever you are in country, outside country, the behaviors of using ethnicity as a measuring yard for setting political argument, please abstain from that, abstain from that, abstain from that, because it is a factor that triggers a deadly violence among us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Edmund, for coming to Lagos State Media to brief and update our people back home in diaspora. And we hope we are calling for the peace to come, to return to IDP camp in Malakal. I hope two communities, Nuer and Chulok, can find a peace among themselves and stop killing one another. This thing is not a time for us, so it's a time for us to come together as South Sudanese and let us work to progress toward a peace and stability in our community. That's the one thing that we need to do. And Lagos State Media is always here opening, and it's the eye and the voice of the people that we can reach out, bring people together so that we can discuss. The more we talk one another, the more we can find a common ground and solve our differences and our issues. So thank you so much, Ilmun. May God bless you all. And I pray for Bishop to continue to heal. And I hope God will guard those people who did that. Hopefully they're going to be caught and then brought to justice. So thank you guys. For those of you who are watching Clubhouse, Facebook, and YouTube, we will see you next time, and have a good one. Thank you.
William, Ato in Juba, Malatori, hey, yo, in Ping William. Ato in Benti, Walla Quaju, hey, wow, in Ping William. Ato in Malakal Walla Pinyaram, hey, in Ping William.